All right, part 2 of this video is going to be focusing on trying to loosen up the piriformis. That piriformis is that pesky little muscle that attaches from around the backside of the hip all the way up into the butt socket, I'll call it, because right now the terminology is just escaping me. But what this is going to do is we loosen up that piriformis, it's going to take that pressure off of the SI joint that kind of slides together in there. So basically your SI joint just kind of slides together. There's some synovial fluid in there, but if it's too tight, it creates that pressure in there. But if it's too loose, it also allows it to move way too much. So your hips are going to be way too loose. So essentially what I like to do is I will step into our dynamic frog stretch like I showed you before. I'm going to have you kick the leg back. I'm sorry, we're going to be up a little bit higher on this. So we're going to kick our leg back. So it doesn't matter which leg you start with, you're going to kick it back. Make sure you get enough room, kick it back, drop it out to the opposite side, and now get it to the floor. Once you're on the floor, I want you to think about now feeling it stretch through here, right on the outside of the exterior of that hip socket. You should really start to feel a stretch through that piriformis, through that glute med. As you stretch, I want you to just kind of lean back into it. Feel that stretch. Feel where it kind of catches a little bit. And then rotate it down and around. So you see what I did there? Magic. It was voodoo. Voodoo. But you're going to just now kind of rotate on that knee, driving that hip socket back in, or driving that hip joint back into its socket. And you're just going to do some roll arounds there like that to kind of get it to loosen up a little bit. Now if it becomes a little bit, if it's still not loosened up enough and it's too pesky, I got to make my adjustment here. You're going to stay in that position, but now you're going to drop that all the way to the floor. So now essentially you're going to be sitting on that hip socket, knee on the floor, hip on the floor, and you're really going to feel that stretch through that socket, through that piriformis, through that glute. And right now I'm feeling it. It's on fire. But what you'll do is then you'll just take your shoulders. See how I'm kind of not square? I mean, my leg is square this way. My shoulders aren't square. So what you want to do is you want to try to square your shoulders up as much as you can and then lean into that. Don't be afraid to kind of lean around, work around it. Over here, I'm not feeling anything. Over here, feeling a little bit, but not as much. But boy, the minute I get this out in front of me, it's on fire. You can even start to reach out to your side a little bit and then bring it back. This is the tricky part. You're gonna have to elevate yourself up. So engage that glute, drive that quad, hamstring, everything tight, lift yourself back up into that position, and you should be a lot looser. Try that with both sides. That's a piriformis stretch. I'm pretty sure it's gonna help loosen up that SI joint and also take a lot of that pressure off when you're squatting. One other tip I want to tell you when you're trying to get down into the squat too is you hear everybody talk about the butt weight factor, and that's why I've asked about squat stance, width and everything. Play around with your squat stances. One thing I've learned as I've gotten older is that my squat has changed. When I used to actually have a narrow stance squat when I was younger, and it was fine. But now I've had to go a lot wider because my hips, for whatever reason, the dynamics of how I squat now are totally different than what they were 4 or 5 years ago. So mess around with that too. And make sure that you're not going too deep, that you're creating a lot of tension undue on those hamstrings that's causing that pelvic tilt that they drive as butt weight. But that's essentially what it is that you're not in the proper position for squatting, and it's creating some of those pains. So pay attention to those things as well. So I hope this helps, guys. If it doesn't, I've got a few other things that we can do with a lacrosse ball, some bands and things like that. So thanks.